Go back into open session to the El Dorado County Fire Protection District Board meeting of March 20th, 2025. Cordero.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of in light of, what's happened over this last, week as the board's well aware, we lost, Division Chief, Luke Shepard tragically in Hawaii. And then, 2 days later, we were notified that we lost a previous firefighter, Anthony Gansler. So I just formally requested a moment of silence in honor of both.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Dr. Feigemann.
Here.
Director Logan.
Here.
Director Edison.
Here.
Director Gilchrist.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, a quorum has been established.
Okay, you want to join me? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one, request for an add-on item, which would be, we can do it under Department Matters, item D, which would be the fire prevention and succession plan. It will be a actionable item as it did not meet the requirements.
Second.
Yeah, Director Logan, you were the first on that.
Yeah. All right. All in favor of the agenda? Aye. We need a roll call? No, he's not on.
Yeah.
Okay, consent calendar, all items approved on a single vote except those pulled for individual discussion and action. Anybody have any items to pull? Hearing none, I have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Make the motion to approve the consent calendar. Second.
You got that? Okay, vote on that. No vote. No. All in favor? Aye. Moving on to public comment, item 6. Any person wishing to address the board on any item that is not on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Anybody out there in the audience have something on? Anybody online? Okay. Moving on to item 7, report of action taken during closed session. Conference with labor negotiators, agency designated representative, fire chief, El Dorado County Fire Professional Fires Association, local 3556. So the board reviewed, and we thank everyone for the Diamond Springs El Dorado County Fire District's merger, the summary of all the wage issues out there. And we are in agreement on all those issues. And we're asking, and we're totally in agreement with, we're saying that we should solidify an MOU as soon as possible for that. And we'd like to direct Fire Chief Cordero to start that process and get it done. He can collaborate with me or any other board member to get that MOU. Anything else? Fire Chief, anything else we need to add to that? I mean, we're all in support. We think it's a great thing and it's going to complete we want to get this annexation process into completion, and I think everybody did a really good job.
Just in summary, I captured the direction from the board and I'll work with, the board chair on, responding to the letter that we received from, the Diamond Springs Local 4972 that bullets the items that they wanted to make sure are addressed, and I think, I thank them for bringing this forward, because there was a couple items on here that we worked on with the summary group on the MOU committee, but there was a couple of things that yep, that's still an item that's hanging that we need to address, so I'll work with the chair over the next few days. We'll get a letter put together and respond to the request from Diamond Springs and have this process moving forward.
Excellent. I want to thank everybody that worked on that as well. It's really good job getting that resolved. Anybody else? Any other comments? We'll move on to item 8, departmental. Now this administrative request for a fee waiver, Sierra Valley Mechanical. Discuss, review, and action item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The district received a request for a fee waiver from Mike Holiday. Sorry if I messed up the pronunciation there. Per department policy, we advised Mr. Holiday that he could come and address the board and make his request for the fee waiver, and he is here to do so today. And staff was neutral in this position, as it's really per policy and discretion of the board.
Well, first of all, I'm not Mike.
My apologies.
I'm Bob Hess. I'm the, many things. I'm actually the chair of the Coloma Lotus Fire Safe Council. And by the way, we have a public meeting tomorrow night with a speaker who's talking to us about targeted grazing using goats and sheep to do your defensible work for you. So you're all invited to that. I'm also on the board of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, but I'm here to represent an organization called SARA, Community Emergency Radio Association. And we are the governing and fundraising body for a couple organizations here in the county, one of which is the El Dorado County Neighborhood Radio Watch, which was formed in 2019 after the Camp Fire to be a wildfire alert, primarily a wildfire alert organization, although we've also been very busy during snow emergencies. In a nutshell, we have roughly 700 radio users in the county, and I say radio users rather than members because we don't charge fees for the service. If you have one of these radios, anybody can have one. It's not a ham radio thing. The radio will beep. We will send a page out making the radio beep if there's a wildfire near you. That's kind of what we're about. Mike isn't here today. He couldn't make it, but actually it's probably better that I'm here because I'm the chair of the organization that is doing a project right now to serve our Pollock Pines Camino group. We have 11 repeaters around the county. The repeaters were built with equipment donated by EDSO and PG&E. One of those repeaters is in Rancho del Sol. They gave us a lease on a building they had there for $1 at the top of the hill. And in that building is a repeater and 4 pretty nice sized batteries that EDSO gave us. Those batteries kept our radio system running during the Caldor fire and also during a couple snow emergencies. During the Caldor fire, it was the only way anybody could communicate out there. The internet was down, power was down, phone lines were down. And because of what happened in the Caldor fire, when we conceived this idea in 2019, we wanted to build an infrastructure totally independent of PG&E, the internet, the phone lines, and so on. And it worked. Those 4 batteries are now aging. They're very expensive. So we went to the Women's Fund and we applied for a grant for $8,000, which would cover the cost of a generator, including permit fees, installation, and so on. We didn't get that grant, but the Women's Fund did give us $2,200. We then went to the Latrobe Fund and we got a grant for $2,600. We went to our members and we got another 1,000 or so, and that's where we are today. One of our members, Mike, the guy who actually applied for the fee waiver, owns a dealership that includes Generac generator sales. He sold us a generator, at his cost. He's doing the installation for free and donating the materials. We then went to Camps Propane. We got them to donate a 250 gallon tank and to install the propane lines. And, we're trying to make this project work with not a lot of funding. We're looking for a fundraising director, and once we get to that point, I hope I never have to come to you and ask you for a fee waiver, but that's what we're doing today. It's a very simple project. It's a 250 gallon tank, a single electrical circuit, 20 amps to serve a building that's roughly 8 foot by 10 foot. Building department's gonna be doing inspection of the propane, the building, the generator installation and so on. So, because our funds are limited, we're coming to you, asking you for this fee waiver. So that's what we're about, and I hope you can consider it.
And any other public comments on this item? Or board comments?
How much is the fee this?
$372.
Because I'm on the fire safety council, the board, and I chair another one, I'm gonna abstain from any discussion or vote on it.
Okay, I'll just tell you what's happened in the past for this. I mean, we think what you're doing is fantastic. We totally support that as individuals. And I mean, as a fire department, we'd love to do that, but we have groups that come here all the time with really super worthwhile projects that we'd love to waive the fee on. But we have the cost of doing these items, and we have, on them in the past, we just don't waive the fees, and they're all nonprofits, and they're worthwhile community things that are public safety, and you name the issue. And we individually given money towards those personal people saying, hey, we support what you're doing. But it's really, I mean, I'm just talking from being on this board for many years, and that we haven't approved these. It's really difficult, because there's so many worthwhile projects out there. We have super funding here, I'd say, let's do it.
I'd like to just say one more thing, and that is during the campfire, during the Keldor fire, with power and internet and everything down in Pollock Pines at the time, OES was actually on the phone with us, having us deliver evacuation orders as they were updating them, and also road closures. So, I mean, that power was really important, and I get what you're saying. If we can't get the fee waiver, we'll figure it out one way or another, but I wanted to make sure
We're
you.
doing that right now, just like that's been our policy. I'm not saying we shouldn't waive this fee. I mean, I'm looking for some other board idea. I mean, it's fire related. We realize what you did to help, but the service you provided during the Calvert fire. I mean, it's extremely worthwhile. But, I mean, are we gonna draw the line and say, hey, we have food back, we've had so many different groups come through here and ask us for worthwhile fee waivers, but we haven't done it. It's just difficult. I don't know if you guys have any other comments on
I will, being newer, I haven't run into any requests like this before, but I do see it as a direct, impact for us, being that they are part of the emergency communication system. Rather, they're part of the emergency services for the community. So I do see a benefit for that, and I guess it's not a direct cost to us, it's a waiver. I don't think we're not taking money out of our account, we're just not receiving it.
But it's the recovery.
We're covering the cost.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, with the food bank and their recent expansion, we did waive the fees on their expansion because they were doing that whole emergency delivery component. So the board did based on
Oh,
that.
so
So there,
But there was
we have.
there was a donation too they had to get, I think, that helped us
We
decide.
waived part of their.
Yeah, we waived part.
The development impact fee.
Yeah, I think we're kind of matching what the county was doing. The county was
Yeah.
used to.
But the county,
Typically, yes, you are correct, the board doesn't, but there has been a couple based on some of those emergency aspects.
That's a good question. Has the county waived any of their fees, do you know?
We have not asked.
They haven't asked yet.
well, I think we can put it in that same sense. If the county will waive their fee, I would recommend that we waive our fee. And you can come back to us on that. But,
By the way, we have paid the fee at this point, so just keep, we have to have the project done to honor the grants by the end of May.
okay,
So we paid the fee. What we're asking for is at some point a waiver and a refund.
I think if so have you paid the county fees as well?
Yes.
I'm looking for some, other direction. I mean, I think it's totally worthwhile to help support us in every way. I mean, you definitely, it's an integral part. But then we have to start parsing this out, how we do it in the future, saying everything that's fire related and helps us, are we gonna waive the fees on? Or do we just do it as just one individual thing, say, hey, this is worthwhile, we take it under consideration, we say, yes, let's waive it.
Well, I mean, it seems like we take each single request we get on the merits of its own value to the system. Seems to me like this has demonstrated its value to the fire service agencies, to community safety, to all those kind of things, so. I mean, quite honestly, I'm leaning toward waiving it.
And I guess that's what I'm looking at too, is he's demonstrated the value it has been used. It's not like a hypothetical, like maybe one day we'll need this. It's been used. I think it's a good way to support what's going on.
Okay,
We need a motion.
but I need a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we waive the $372 that Sierra Valley Mechanical request has been submitted.
I'll second, and I believe we're actually reimbursing them.
Yeah.
We're
Not
reimbursing.
waiving.
Okay, we need a poll vote on that.
Director Herschman,
Aye.
Director Rubin.
Aye.
Director Emerson,
Aye.
Director Gilchrist.
Abstain.
Motion's passed, we're gonna get you.
Now that, I would just offer, El Dorado Community Foundation might well be another funding source for grants. They have silos of money that you can possibly tap into, so that would be a good resource.
Thank you, Paul. And thank all of you. At some point, when we have the coffers that are way up there, I would be happy to pay it back because we are big supporters of it.
Thank you, thanks for all.
Thank you.
Okay. Item B, VERIMA insurance renewal. Discuss, review, and action. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We received our annual renewal from Capital Insurance, our insurance provider under J. Freeman. And I asked both Stephanie and Hillary to come and share the business. So I'll turn this happy moment over to.
Well, I do feel like it's better news than I've been here to deliver in the past.
That's good.
Well, you have insurance.
You have insurance, that's like the best news. And then, the overall increase, including exposure increase of your new engines, and any other small changes, the total increase bottom line is about 13%. So that's well within the 15% rate increase that is, kind of the parameters for the JPA. And that 15% rate increase does not include exposure increase, so we were able to wrap all of those things, exposure and rate, and come out at a net 13%. So felt like it was really favorable. Tim had a couple of questions and we kind of went on a deep dive on a couple of things and still felt like it was a real favorable position to be in.
Where was most of the cost in the property rate part of it, or was it?
Yeah,
across the
it's
board?
kind of tricky the way they kind of build it in, because it takes a little while to drill down, and sometimes they really have to shift premiums in certain places in order to. So when the carrier changed to Munich, Munich is incredibly strict and detailed, like painfully, Steph has been. You know, just having a lot of patience, but I think Allied Public Risk, Cal Mutuals, who, you know, has Munich backing this program. They chose a solid carrier who is a huge company and that can provide the coverage. The caveat in return is we have to play by their rules, and so the underwriting information has gotten a lot more detailed. We had to complete full applications. What we thought would be a non-issue suddenly like doubles a rate here or there. So we've kind of all been on this little bit of a dance trying to figure out why this, what's going on here. So it's been a adjustment for both the underwriters who are actually quoting the accounts. You know, we have this perceived idea that hopefully we're gonna stay at, you know, a rate increase of maybe under 10% for pure rate without exposure. And then something else goes haywire and you're going, what caused that, or what caused that? So they have so many factors in their rating profile. Also tricky is if you ask too many questions and it gets sent to Munich, which I understand is a panel of about 10 people who actually go around and discuss the risk in depth, and you would want to try to avoid that because then you kind of deal with maybe opening a can of worms that we didn't really want to open. This portfolio has kind of been written as an overall, they understand there's wildfire, they understand there's exposure, they understand fire services, but do we really want them nitpicking certain things? Probably not. So it's kind of a little bit of a dance of wanting to really know where this exact number came from, and then maybe we don't want to know that badly if it causes us to get referred to a panel of 10 very precise German underwriters. So overall, I think we've been really happy with renewal. There's been a few situations, but I mean, you guys are at like 15 million in property. That's 36,000. I mean, ask around town if anyone else is getting 15 million in property coverage with wildfire for 36,000. I have a standalone building at, I think, 2.9 million in the middle of town that's paying 36,000. So when you really look at it overall, it makes sense. The business auto increased, but as I spoke to Tim about, it didn't increase as much as I anticipated for the 4 new units that were added. So a lot of the premium actually decreased on some of the units. So overall, it seemed pretty favorable, actually quite favorable.
Because the new engine costs have gone up considerably.
Yeah, yes.
And the truck.
And they're very cautious about that too. They've had a couple $1 million, you know, engine losses, and that's just, yeah, you know, you're focused on these $1 million structures or $2 million structures. It's a lot easier to have $1 million engine topple off a hill, and with them writing them at agreed value, it complicates that situation because it's a real benefit to the, you know, departments, but that's not how auto insurance works in the real world. And I think that's actually why a lot of the premiums went down, is because they have an age rating, but the age rating on the rating basis isn't accounting for agreed value. So the rate acts like the vehicle's getting older, which normally you're not gonna pay out as much, but with the agreed value endorsement, you're still getting the same benefit as long as you choose to replace the unit. So then
Oh, it's replacement cost? Oh,
Yeah, it's
So it's not the depreciated value?
correct.
Well, that's amazing.
So, yeah, that's a huge benefit. And I think a lot of departments don't understand that. Also, once they started to understand it, they were like, well, let's take all of these values up. Well, we can't do that because the age rating is still the same. And they have to, own that number. So they're like, we might be able to tick it up a little bit, but some departments were like, oh, well, this is insured at 300,000, we want to take it to 1 million. They're like, no, because there's no way with their rating basis and the rates they're filed for that they could get the rates for that. We could tick some things up, incrementally, but the key is when you are adding a vehicle, think about what you would want to replace it for. And that's, the value we encourage everyone to use. And sometimes that just takes a little bit of education on our part too. We get the flip side of like, we didn't pay anything for it. It was a grant and we only want to insure it for this much. It's like, you do you, but it's only gonna cost you $100 or $200 more to insure it for what you would want to replace it with. So, two sides of every story for that, but the other thing is, I don't know if you received the cyber proposal. As of last year, they canceled all cyber coverage. There was a cyber liability endorsement that sort of made the departments feel like they had cyber, but it was very, 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 very limited coverage. So they came out with a full comprehensive cyber program. And so that would be a new proposal that was presented to you.
So that's not part of this.
That is not, well, I don't know if that made it to the packet or not. Okay. It's like, no,
No.
2,600. It would have been, yeah, there's nothing,
On the cyber?
yeah. 77? Okay.
It's in the epic, it's in a cyber folder.
Oh, there's a cyber folder, I didn't know. Thanks. Cyber folder. It is $7,795 for $1 million in coverage for very comprehensive ransomware. The cost there's multiple costs of cyber. There's like the money they actually suck out of your account with the cyber hack. And then there's the cost that when people get their information, leaked, then you have to cover their, what's it called? I'm sorry,
The protection.
yes, you have to and that can be very costly too. You have to do their, credit monitoring, thank you, for like a year, and that's very costly. So cyber crimes are super costly. I also recognize the departments don't have a whole lot of extra money, but if there is one coverage that is probably being pushed the most in the industry, it's cyber right now. And you don't have to make a decision on it today. The worst part about cyber is I read this proposal and I try to know what it is, but IT is not my specialty, so maybe take it to your IT person and just say, what's our risk, what's our exposure, does this make sense? We have cyber coverage, I'll be super honest with you, it's becoming an issue. If I don't offer cyber coverage, I'm bringing on an E&O from my own agency that it's such a rising issue, so it's kind of twofold. You need it, I need to offer it, but please don't ask me like the difference between like bricking or crypto jacking. I'm gonna tap out there. So,
If I may comment, I
Sure.
have 30 years in IT.
Oh, good.
You're speaking my. So I think what we would probably want to do in a risk assessment is, and I'll be talking about this in communications, but an inventory of our IT stack, everything that we've got, and what coverage is provided through those providers that we're going with, and where we have exposure. And that would be able to articulate our risk factor, if you will. And that's just my 2 cents, Chief.
Yeah, and this is a one-year product, you're not signing on for it's just if you sign up. um, It's a master policy, so each department would get $1 million, and there's a 20 million aggregate for the whole pool of all members. That just increased from a 10 million aggregate to a 20 million aggregate. You can look at the proposal. It's based on revenue. I will say we had a conversation about revenue, but the cutoff point's 15 million, so I think it's like, it's slot pricing, so it's like, when you're 15 to 20 million, that's the pricing, so either way, you're gonna fall into the same pricing, that's not gonna be a changing factor, but just wanted to definitely be something that was presented and that you guys can discuss, internally, like you said, also with your IT department and make a decision accordingly.
They're doing that before.
So, but do we have any bad claims this past year, insurance wise? Was it this year or we had a fire injury once?
Fire engine roll was.
That was the previous year.
I was gonna say, there's. Thank you.
We've had some, well, station 19,
Yeah, I actually didn't pull a loss run, I don't have one for, but usually when it's at least 2 pages, yeah, it's not like a gold star one, but yeah, hey, we can get hopes and dreams.
Chief, is for the personally identified information or data that we capture, is that retained? So we have streamlined, and then we have some applications, so if somebody fills out a burn permit, and I know we don't do it, Cal Fire does, but as an example, do we retain anything on our servers, or is it another company that has it?
I mean, all of our, payroll and all that stuff is retained, either through UKG or on our servers.
And how about our Chronos system?
Mhm.
And that's our servers? Okay, so
So
there,
I probably want to talk to,
RTS,
RTS.
Yep.
And get their feedback on, what, because there is protection built in there, but to what level, and is this.
right, and I look for the contract, review that contract and make sure that, because they're taking responsibility, they have to offer us coverage for what we're paying. And what's the insurance level? I'm just running through all of the software tools that we have and what's available, and if a hacker can get in and wreak havoc, and what are the security features that are up front on it.
So do we have a lot of data in the county file, when we went through county record?
They run the payroll.
Right.
They'll
Yeah,
take
all
the
our
check.
sectors.
That's the thing is that gets kind of like hard, my non-IT brains, I had a guy that called and said, somebody hacked my email, got an invoice that was mine, that I was sending to a client, changed the routing number on it, client paid the invoice for $200,000, but he never got the money, and he kept calling saying, where's the money? And he's like, I paid you, here it is, but they had found his, the banking account, so like I said, it's really hard for me to understand how complex this gets. I think these people are absolute experts at it, but little scary what's going on.
Oh, and the data breach, if you have that, it's like when OPM at the federal level got hacked. And social, birthday, parents, maiden names, all of that gets out there.
Then
It's
there's
significant,
notification
yeah.
costs, and
Yeah.
then there's credit monitoring costs, and that's just. There's like I said, a part A and a part B, but that's just the
Mhm.
cover your butt cost versus you actually lost true funds cost, and
Mhm.
there's coverage for both of those situations with the proposal.
Do you want me to sit in, chief? I'd be more than happy to,
So
or not.
So you don't have, I just wanted to let you know that it's,
We have a policy right now that's limited, just saying that when is this insurance?
no, so there is no cyber coverage. Before, as of last year, they
Took it out.
completely removed it because it was like, if you are deemed negligent in an event that has, it was
Very restricted.
was very small, and it led people to believe that they had coverage. Oh, I see cyber here, and it was very limited, so I think they felt like it was more of an exposure to even leave the word in there at all versus having a full comprehensive product to offer. Cyber coverage is underwritten by AmTrust, and even with our private businesses and stuff, they seem to be a true leader in the cyber space, so I feel good about that, that it's a very valuable product. Any other questions about the insurance environment in general, or?
I'm sure we will.
Well, so those fires in LA, did that affect, you think that affected this quote for fire departments, or was it they just looking at fire?
I think it was too soon to affect this quote. I know there were some water agencies that were lost, down south that just with like J Prima, Allied Public Risk, that maybe at first they weren't sure if their losses were gonna be like tens of millions or hundreds of millions. So I think, the JPA got out pretty lucky with maybe like 6 million, but Munich as a company in general is gonna probably be billions. How that shakes out and, you know, trickles down, I don't know that anyone really knows yet. I think it's too soon to tell. It was sort of ironic because our renewal was always in November, so it was like we were negotiating this stuff like at the height of wildfire season. I was like, oh, we finally have an April renewal. I'm like, what is this January? What is this major? So it's just, I think it's become so unpredictable for so many people and the companies in general that our government needs to get their act in order. But like I said, I'm not sure I've seen a whole lot of action from them. They've spent a couple of years just blaming each other back and forth. So we'll see what actually, if anything actually happens. And like I said, now with the new administration with FEMA, we might just keep throwing balls back and forth at each other, but I think California is gonna face some difficult, maybe even more difficult environment if they don't make some substantial changes, either with legislature letting companies come in and say, this is the rate we wanna write it at, just let us present this price, and if somebody, you know, wants to buy it, then they wanna buy it, but with everything needing to go through the DOI as it currently is, and then just nitpicking everything, I mean, it'll be, they just wanna get a rate increase, and it's like, well, this payment plan is discriminatory, like, the whole point of the rate increase, everything just kept getting pushed back with all of these little nitpicky things, and it's just, I didn't also quite understand, I mean, I knew that the FAIR plan is not, it's not a government-run plan, it's each of the insurance carriers. Well, when Nationwide just started piecing out of everything, I was like, okay, like, we can selectively, you know, they were on so much in California, they were more worried about being on 15% of the failure of the FAIR plan because they charged back their members. So it was more about them wanting way less footprint in California than about them not thinking that it was a good risk. They said, when this FAIR plan fails, which we see it is going to, how much of that do we want to have to absorb? I think State Farm was in a very similar position. And as the carriers left, then, you know, State Farm was still writing, you know, there would be a few carriers still writing, and then all of a sudden you would see those carriers not writing anymore. It's like, wait, you thought it was fine to write. Well, they were absorbing too much. And they all saw that FAIR plan about to collapse, thinking, we don't want to be on all of it. On all the losses if, you know, if you get too saturated, and B, on the insolvency. So like always, California's got some things to figure out. I wish I had a mirror ball, but anyone that's heavily near wildfire with property. Good thing we have an option. We have an option. Kind of, even, you know, people have been talking about Sierra, that JPA. All of their property was insured with a separate JPA called Prism. So I went and looked up the members of Prism and what their limits were, and they write a lot of public entities. They had Pasadena Unified School District. They lost 5 elementary schools. It's like, I don't know what that whole thing is going to look like for that option either. So I think it's just gonna take some time for it to all kind of shake out. That's my, I don't know, speech.
Right, so we need an action on this item.
Yeah, I think what might be helpful, Mr. Chair, is if the main renewal. needs to be-
Yeah, yeah.
That-
That's what I'm saying.
You don't have to make it.
We need to review that one.
We don't have to do the cyber piece.
Do a little bit of-
The cyber one, do a little bit of a deep dive, yeah.
Yep.
The other thing I was just gonna note on this, and I don't, it's not material, it's not even an impact, but I think we're planning for next year, because the cycle for renewal does not match up with our fiscal year. And so I think it would be a good idea to build in the 13% it happened to be here, and I think our maximum is 15.
Yeah,
Is that for the last 3 months in the budget cycle, we just add that 15%. To accommodate it, to, you know, get it done, that's, so it's accounted for.
Well, yeah, well, the maximum is 15, right? But how many years is that?
so the maximum is 15. They can give you more than, you know, they can give you more than that, but then you have the right to exit, yeah.
Go
So,
there.
right,
Yeah.
I think that's what, I kind of see this program kind of taking 2 paths. And it's, do you have property or not? Do you have substantial property or not? If you. VFIS, like it might still be an option for some accounts to go back to VFIS. VFIS does not have any wildfire property appetite. I don't know who's going to have any wildfire property appetite, you know, Munich may not either, and we may be facing a rate of 25 and still saying, seems like a good deal, you know, there's a little bit of uncertainty there. ESIP, the ambulance authorities with them, I got some background news that are just going to sell that program, so I don't know who they're going to end up with, how that's going to look. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the next probably year really to, you know, if you just have 5 vehicles and $100,000 station you want to put with the fair plan, there might be, you know, that might be an option, but if you have substantial property in wildfire, you may not have any better options. And, you know, I was kind of looking at Sarah as this like, well, they seem to be giving these people these just stellar rates. Well, that's what happens with a lot of carriers, and then they get burned. No
pun intended.
No pun intended, but, yeah, when I looked up, I mean, when you're looking at, they have this big property limit of, I don't remember, you know, millions and millions of dollars, because it's a big pool. You look at losing 5 elementary schools that cost probably $20-30 million each. I don't know the 40, 50, yeah. Don't know the going rate, but.
They should do a plan for.
Yeah, so that's a big hit. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where some of those, oh, we found this great option ends up. But we will continue to be at the forefront of it. We can write with VFIS, we can write with ESIP, we will continue to have those conversations. I just don't think it is probably going to be a realistic conversation as long as we have the structure values that we do in wildfire areas. But it may, like I said, it may be some options for individuals.
Solar stations, and then folks in like modulars.
let's just all move to where they're not having extreme weather events. I don't know, poor Western, West Virginia.
Oh.
They didn't think they were gonna get a flood and then the I don't know where we go to. The hail in Denver, I haven't figured out where we're safe.
Do we look at, not insuring the closed stations? Does that make any sense? Do we have any commitments on closed, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, we keep it close, so we could.
yeah, but maybe dropping those values or something like that.
That's also the thing is Munich's not really allowing any gains with the property. I believe actually most of the stations are extremely undervalued. We're getting away with it because there's a blanket limit and they offer that blanket limit. But for anyone that's wanted to drop the value down, I'm going, then you're gonna have to go to maybe an actual cash value. You're not gonna get replacement cost. Those might be some conversations, but right now, they're saying the replacement cost for a station is probably 550 a square foot. So when you go through each of those, you're going, we're extremely undervalued, and if we push them too hard, they'll come out and do a building valuation on everyone, and it will be not that great. But right now, we're relying on the fact that we have the full limit for contents and property. So we're relying on that, but if we try to mess with it, they don't have any patience for our games. Cause I've tried. Some of the departments have willingly upped theirs, and then if they keep demanding the 7% rate increase, I'm like, back off, they already did it themselves, and that's a conversation we can have, but when we really get down to crunching some of the numbers, if you want replacement cost on a station and you're planning to do that, they're not going to, play games. And also, property is really not even, when you're looking at 36,000 for 15 million.
It's not that.
Just, right. I don't think we're gonna beat that, so. Any other questions?
So we need to,
Absolutely.
we need to approve it here for, yeah. We need a
The
motion.
policy.
Make a motion that we accept the revised insurance policy, noting that we'll follow up on the second one later, to approve it, to adopt it.
Okay.
Director Crossman?
Aye.
Director Jordan?
Aye.
Director Emerson?
Aye.
Director Lopez?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Okay, item C, phone system renewal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The district moved our phone services to Nextiva several years ago at the recommendation of our IT department. The service has been very satisfactory. Recently, Diamond Springs Fire was approaching renewal for their phone services by a different provider, and based on the pending annexation, reached out to RTS Computers for information on Nextiva. Nextiva provided a contract renewal for both Diamond Springs and Alvarado County Fire, merging them into a single contract. The new contract renewal yielded significant savings to Diamond Springs Fire in comparison to their previous vendor. And for Alvarado County Fire, the renewal reduced our monthly costs by approximately $250 per month. The timeframe for renewing it did not allow for the contract renewal to come to the board prior to signing. The renewal for the county fire's 36-month contract provides replacement with current phones at no cost, and it reduces our monthly costs. The contract also provides a clause that will allow for separation of Diamond Springs and county fire in the event that the annexation not move forward. This contract has been signed and kept in place, and this has been brought forward to the board as information. Now, as Diamond Springs is working through theirs, because their phone system was coming due, part of their contract with Nextiva gave us the opportunity to save $2 or $3 a month with standard kind of service and that. So when I took that, moving forward, those new for themselves, they're installed. Really no change, just a new contract. That's in my report. Happy to answer any.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on to item 9, board matters.
8D, we added 8.
Oh gee, I forgot the fire protection success. Right, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a late add-on. I have provided copies of the staff report from Chief Daniels to the board. Also have copies of the staff report from Chief Daniels on the table back there in the back of the room, if anybody in the public would like a copy. You know, before I start, again, this is from Chief Daniels. When we had the event take place this week, I reached out to Chief Daniels and asked him if he would take on the Fire Prevention Bureau with what that staffing looks like, what the short, mid, and long-term plans are for there. He's done a tremendous amount of work, because that, despite everything that's going on, we still have customers that we serve that are coming in with plans. There's plans in the hopper and things going on, so the continuity of business in there is pretty critical piece to us. So this staff report again was from Chief Daniels, and his recommendation is that staff recommends the approval of a proposed Fire Prevention Bureau succession plan to ensure the continuity of operations following the loss of Division Chief Shepherd. The plan outlines short-term, mid-term, and long-term strategies for maintaining fire prevention services and training qualified replacement. I'm going to forego the background and move into the discussion on short term. For the short term, which is, you know, the next 30 to 40 days, CAL FIRE AEU Battalion Chief Colin Richard will be providing some assistance in our Prevention Bureau to Captain Derek Duncan for anything that is kind of above and beyond what Captain Duncan would normally handling. The interim solution ensures no disruption in fire prevention operations. Additional support has been offered by the regional fire prevention agencies, ensuring that expertise is available as needed. He's recommending a midterm approach, which would be the 60 to 90 days in collaboration with the department's legal team, which is County Fire's Legal. He is pursuing an emergency proclamation by the board of directors to allow the return of retired Fire Marshal Division Chief Brady Sterling for training purposes. There are some government codes underneath CAL FIRE or CalPERS that does allow for those. And then you can kind of see the process for there. In the interim, also Captain Jacob Pagansky, who is the candidate that is still on the eligibility list for the Fire Marshal Division Chief, will be assigned to work under Chief Sterling for a 40-hour captain for a structured 60 to 90-day training period. During this period, additional training resources, including state and regional prevention courses, will be leveraged to ensure comprehensive preparation for the role. And then a long-term approach, once Captain Pagansky completes his training, the department will proceed with his official promotion to the Fire Marshal position. The department will ensure full transparency and compliance with legal requirements, contracts, and department policies through this process. Additional succession plan efforts will be initiated through all future leaders of the Fire Prevention Bureau, ensuring the pipeline of qualified personnel for these key positions. In the meantime, Chief Daniels and Chief Richards will oversee the Fire Prevention Bureau operations to ensure that continuity of service. By default, the title of Fire Marshal is assigned to Chief Daniels until the promotional process is finalized. There are some then items that he's pointed out with the rules and requirements by CalPERS on those positions and the things that you build on that. The fiscal impact, the department will need to work with legal counsel and administrative staff to determine the financial impacts, implications associated with temporarily reappointment of Chief Sterling and the training for Captain Pagansky. Any necessary budget adjustments will be presented to the board as needed. And I will say that this is very much a living document. I've spoken with Chief Daniels multiple times this week. I commend him for really this under a tough situation. He's actually out of town in class this week. So this was being done on breaks and at night, and he's done a tremendous lift on this. I had a conversation with our legal yesterday. There's still a couple of things that are loose items that need to be buttoned up and need to be looked into a little further. But from the view we're at right now, this is kind of the direction that we're headed. Any action items will be coming to the board next month. You know, if we need to declare emergency thing for CalPERS to allow for Chief Sterling to return to assist. Yeah, those pieces still need buttoned up, but that's kind of where we're at with the fire prevention bureau right now. I'm happy to answer your question.
Any public comments on this? Board comments?
I think this is well thought out. I understand it's fluid and it is changing. It strikes me that it's very similar to, Chief Hogan when he was acting fire chief 5 years ago. And, I think it's wholly appropriate and done well in a very short period of time.
I'll relay that to our chief. I really, I can't give him enough kudos. You know, we talked a few times and he said, hey, I've got it. I'll put it together. He's reached out for a little bit of input and, there's good plan in place that gives us good framework. The final product may look a little bit different, but this is kind of the roadmap we're on and, you know, for Chief Richards from CAL FIRE to, I mean, immediately step up, already the Hills Air Prevention Bureau, Chief Longfall reached out, anything we need, so. We've got resources to help move that ball rolling, but, kudos to Chief.
Do we need to bring Chief Sterling on before our next board meeting?
That's my question.
No, because we'll have to be board action. And I did speak with our legal yesterday, there may be a couple of complicating factors there. So when Chief Daniels, gets back in town, we'll probably meet with him on probably Monday and that's the plan, but there may be, I think that would be able to do that.
What, the caliper says you're right.
Yeah, the 120-day,
Typically, it's 180 day that you have to be separated before you can return. There are some clauses that allow to be returned sooner. There are some clauses within CalPERS that will allow that to come, for somebody to come back sooner than 180 days. We need to be very, thoughtful and precise on how we navigate that to not potentially jeopardize anything for the agency or Chief Sterling.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that has to be very well thought out and all our T's crossed and I's dotted to make sure that neither is jeopardized. So,
As long as our legal people are involved with PERS, we should be able to do it. I've done it. It's doable. It's just, you're right.
yeah.
It's gotta be right, so we don't jeopardize Chief Sterling.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I've reached out to our legal and let them know that, Chief Daniels taking this project on, and Chief Daniels has the ability to go direct to our legal on this item. Working kind of hand in with their students.
I guess my only point was, if we need to, I mean, I would assume that the rest of the board would agree. I wouldn't be opposed to a special meeting if we had to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that may come into play just with the things that are transpiring in the next couple of weeks. I would anticipate. We hope to have what we need by the April 18th, 20th meeting.
How do we speed up Jacob's process? Right, yeah. All right, so, what do
There's,
Just
that's information only, it's a receiving file. It was not agendized prior to the meeting, so there's no action to take.
Okay, item 9, board member uniform.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We received this request from the chair via Director Gilchrist to agendize. I don't have a staff report on it, so.
We should go for discussion purposes. Do you want to start, Paul?
Sure, just Mickey and I were talking and, gosh, I don't know, it was on the agenda, we talked about it several months back. Items for material, uniforms, I think I recall we talked about collared shirts, we talked about, something that would be more appropriate for like, if you're attending a, Board of Supervisors meeting in the chambers, do you wear this kind of shirt? Do you have a button down collar that has the logo? Director Hogan was at an event representing the district, and he was just in suit and tie, and we talked about the lapel pin of that, and then just various discussions of ball cap, whatnot kind of thing, and then so he said, yeah, let's put it on. I said, okay, so that's where it is.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good discussion, and I think, we've been. So, I remember the discussion, but now I have to get my brain set. But I think the effort we've been making as a board over the past few years is incrementally moving us more and more toward a professional appearance, professional, everything. I mean, as we do public affairs and all those kind of things, government affairs. I think there is definitely a benefit for us to be uniform and to be something that we all agree to, I think. And some of those pieces, I think you mentioned, I think the ability to have a more of a dress button-down shirt with our logo on it, that we use in that scenario, that's great. I think to be able to have a department lapel pin or something. I know the agency that Jim and I came from. If you were a staff member, executive staff member, or you were a retired member, you got a small badge. It looked like a badge, but it was a lapel pin badge that you went on your suit coat if you were in civilian clothes, right? And if you look around at other agencies and other governing boards, you pretty much see that universally, So I think it's to me, it's not one of those super critical things, but in some ways, I think it does move us forward. Just in a
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, I agree with
Image.
you, Jeff, because we've been meeting with assemblymen, we met with congressmen, and we'll report out on those. And we're going in there, we might be wearing this polo shirt or something, but, and I think one step forward was really getting the business cards that we just talked about. So that, because they're handing us cards, we're like, oh, here's our number, keep it back on sheet of paper, or whatever. So I think the business card will help. And definitely, I think a hat that says El Dorado County Fire Director or something, I don't know, we don't need something. I don't know what it is, but a hat, a pin, the business card, and a shirt. I think that's what we're talking about, a more formal shirt. And maybe we should look at the cost of what that is.
Like a t-shirt?
Not a t-shirt, but maybe
like a dress shirt.
a dress shirt.
Yeah.
And we should maybe look at the cost of getting those and look at some ideas of what that is, so we can look into it. I think everybody agrees on that, hat and a shirt, and we don't need jackets or anything like that, yeah. And the business card, whenever we get, because the business card is really gonna help, we're meeting so many people and we're writing down our name and who we are, and they hand us a business card and we're like, okay.
Agreed.
So, I'm not saying we should do it right now, but let's look at the cost of that and see what it is and see if you have to, and by the next board meeting.
Finance meeting next month, right?
Yeah, next
Yeah.
month, we have,
Maybe we can drill in next month.
we have the time or some shirt outfitters, I'm on logo.
Does you know, Kathleen, do you know the place where we get our embroidery done, like on the job shirts and stuff like that? Is that where these are done?
These are done locally. And then our job shirts, like all the stuff that I buy for our line personnel, I outsource that to a place in Rancho Cordova.
Okay. So I guess seems like those places probably have shirts
Yes,
that we can buy and.
yes. Mhm.
I have some like, button up
Yeah.
dress shirts, if you will, I purchased from like a Men's Warehouse or something, and then took them to our embroidery shop and because the selection is,
Mhm.
a little bit meager.
Well, it's all- you'll be
Well, that's-
reading online.
When I was in polo shirts, like I forget the brand, but I got a nicer polo shirt and had them embroidered. They have like Port Authority.
Mhm. They're like, yeah. The bulk
Yeah.
ones that you would purchase.
Yeah, because when I was a chief, I went to that place down at the Y,
CNE.
CEC.
yeah, that we did the embroidering with,
Mm-hmm.
and I did the same thing, I just went to some place and bought a nice shirt. Had
Mhm.
embroidered there.
But I think we should have something standard, like,
Yeah.
you know, a white shirt, a blue shirt, or whatever it is. I mean, to come up with some ideas and then we'll look at it.
Okay.
Right? So that's the action going forward.
And we'll look at some of those, with Phil and there's companies out there that make those.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about dressing us up in a uniform. No, it's just-
But it's just time to learn and.
I think I have too, because I mean, we're going out and, well, I mean, I'm wearing my El Dorado County ski boot.
Well, for the past-
You know, we talked about
That's different design.
maybe a denim shirt at barbecue versus this, and so I don't know. So I just remember a few different discussions on that to be appropriately addressed for the event.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I mean, some of the places I've seen, like,
Mhm.
some of the places I've seen, like say for that kind of deal, was we just say, some of the stuff we just allow us to go purchase, here's where we get it embroidered, we wanna purchase something that's more casual for a barbecue or for whatever else. Then,
Yeah, if you
and we
want
can go do that, the board uniform is polo shirt, button-up shirt and whatever.
Whatever it is.
And then the ability to do something a little more casual.
Right.
Is something maybe we should.
Well, I think I remember, Brunton used to wear a camp type shirt.
Yeah.
I think the director some years ago got, is, chief, is there like a camp style shirt that the directors wore?
I think Swarbrick and Breton had they did. that
Oh,
more,
they,
but-
we got those were those, remember they were like the gray button down ones?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
I
more
ordered
like
those.
For barbecue or something?
more casual, button up.
Mhm.
I thought they did that on their own.
No, we didn't.
I think.
You guys did.
Mhm.
Maybe we could do it like once a year, like we buy a new round of shirts and each year we could try something. You know, 1 year button up or 2 years from now, these are shot, we get each guy another polo. Don't have to get all crazy in 1 year.
Mhm.
No, we're not crazy.
No, yeah. But yeah, maybe once a year we get a new shirt or something,
Because it cycles out. It's old.
yeah. I like it.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, on to item 10, committee reports, standing committees, budget and finance. So we didn't have an actual budget and finance committee meeting, it comes up every quarter, but the finance committee has had a couple of meetings. And outside of our regular meeting process, so Director Gilchrist and I met with Congressman McClintock's office about the PILTS money. And so we asked them, because McClintock covers 5 counties, and all those counties get PILTS money. It all goes in, and they all get it directly paid to the county officers, not the fire agency. So we asked if they could research and get back to us on how they calculate the money, the PILTS money. We know what it's for. It's payment of the taxes or property taxes of land taken away from DLN and Forest Service. So what was taken away and why is the payment coming to us? We asked them to research that, so they can get back to us on that. But then I brought up, if that was land taken away from us, why are we getting the ABA piece of that we should get, that was a part of it? She said, that is a really good idea. And we will support you on that, and you should at least get that. So that's a
About
potential.
280K, I think was the number we estimated.
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out once we know how they do the calculation, then we could go and press the county and say, hey, we should get this. And she said, we will do that for every fire district in our 5 counties. So so we're working on that. The other one is, it was Chief Cordero, Director Gilchrist and Jacob was down there. We met with Assembly Member Heather Hardwick. And we explained to her the E-Rapid situation and how much it deducted. And she represents from El Dorado County all the way up to Siskiyou County. She
Up
covers
to the state line.
within the state, and she covers this huge area, like 560 square miles or something incredible amount. A lot of territory, and and her campaign was to help her local fire districts get funding. So we showed her the ERAP deductions, and she said, I'm on board on this. We're not saying let the money go to ERAP, but as county, the state should reimburse you for those ERAP deductions. So she was gonna talk to, Senator Dolly,
Megan.
Megan Dolly, Brian, she took over, she's the state senator. And so I called them, but I haven't heard back from them where they are. We sent them that, and we also sent them our presentation. Paul sent them the presentation we had on the unfunded pension liability study, because she said she could maybe have a way of getting that study done. So that was a really good meeting.
What's her name again?
It's Heather Hardwick. H-E-W-R-C-K, and she represents us here. There's a cutoff here in town where Patterson, and we reported out on Patterson the previous one.
Yeah, we did.
So, and this was subsequent to our last board meeting, so that's where we are on that, let's keep following through.
So just a question on that for you two, is there anybody else joining with us on these discussions, like what I mean from other districts? California, California special districts, is anybody else joining with us?
So well, she's gonna get all the assembly people in these districts that are around there, because we gave her the whole chart that Jacob had put together, and then I grouped it by county, what assembly person was tied into that. And she said, oh, I'm gonna get all these people on board, that's quicker than us going around.
She's gonna go to the Republican caucus and start to get on board, and she said fire is critical now, because now LA's going, oh, it's real. And so they're, both sides of the aisle are thriving towards getting something to be taken care of through fire, so perfect. And so they'll run that gamut. We also, two other things, we also found out that statutorily, so we were in the meeting and she started texting Patterson, and he was gonna put something into the budget, but found out they missed their date and he didn't get it in, but the Senate has until April 2nd or 1st.
So that's why she's getting.
So if you get a statutory relief for ERAP or back into the fire service, and that way they don't have to do a bill. It's just becomes part of the budget process, and then once it's in there, it's pretty much guaranteed. Most Doge comes along and does something.
So is there bipartisan support, you think, at that level?
I do believe so, and from two different sources. A, speaking with her, well, three, and from our discussions with Congressman's office. And what I'm seeing in the news coverage about, the celebrities that are now, that were they were leaning very much left, I'll put it that way. And now they're seeing, they're just going, wait a minute, and so that's my which way the winds blow perspective.
Yeah, I mean, and without getting into any political ideology, what I would just say is in California, if we don't have bipartisan approach to this, we're gonna be dead in the water. So that's the reason I asked that question.
And I would just add on to that, coming out of the meeting with McClintock's office, we are gonna be meeting with Kevin Kiley, because he's a big part of our district as well. And there's overlap, so that, that'll happen as well.
On the old side. And then the third thing is that,
I've had the discussion with him already.
Oh, you have?
we can bring him up to speed on our new idea, how to get the piece of it.
Yeah, I told him that there would be people reaching out to him.
And the third thing is that Alvarado Gill proposed this bill to, not, so that fire districts, special fire districts would not have to pay sales tax. So we got that, she's introduced that bill.
So you might wanna pull it up, Senate Bill 696. That was out of the dinner meeting I had with her in DC. And it's ready to go. They want maybe next week. They're looking, they asked me to testify or test, what is it, not testify?
No, just speak down there.
To speak down there. Probably be good to get someone else. And I don't know if it's county fire or is this to branch out and get somebody else? I mean, along what you were saying, to get other folks involved as well. And if we do, what would be the right type of person to be that witness to speak to why this is important?
Well, I think fire chiefs will be good. Yeah, I mean, because the issue is, we're collecting property taxes, and then we're going in and paying sales taxes, doesn't make sense. And everybody, they hear that, they go, you're paying sales tax?
And it's interesting, if you read the tax code, it says, there's three of them. Basically, it's if you're a government agency, you don't pay sales tax, but that government agency is only at the state level.
Right.
When it comes to local government or cities, they still pay sales taxes. And then, it's nonprofits and churches, I think are the other two,
Right.
that's the way the tax code reads. And so this one's going through, it'll be good till for 4 years. And then after 4, they'll renew it, which would make it permanent.
Yeah.
And
Because
for,
we did Paul did the calculation, it was just under 500,000 we paid in sales tax.
and Chief Gallagher provided me information for Diamond Springs as well, with regards to equipment and they purchased, and I'm sorry I got tied up, but I'm gonna send that down there as well. And, but combined with the agencies, and it was close to 800,000. Wow. That's good.
Hey, we're looking for revenue. But not spending.
In my comments, I have another positive.
Okay. With that, that's it on the finance committee, we're meeting, even though we're not meeting. Communication and outreach,
We met on February 28th. Went through an item about a finance campaign as far as, and really broke out the budget for specific line items to help educate the public as to what goes into running a fire district and all the way through and through and how money is set aside for purchases down the road. And so the idea is to come up with little vignettes, shorts on each segment that could be, I'm gonna ask Pagansky to correct me if I say anything wrong here, is that it would be set up like a book catalog so that someone could go to our video channel or see it on Facebook and be able to just get a 30-second, oh, okay, here's what's in salary, wages, and benefits, and what does it mean? And then go down to here and say, here's what it means for office supplies or equipment and, apparatus, and basically build that out. So the goal is to get that out so that well ahead of any type of future Measure B type thing, that the public is educated and understanding what the costs are, and we're frankly be able to point out where some shortcomings are and where some additional funds are needed. So that was a real positive and not really no real structured timeline, but the goal is to, over the next 18 to 24 months, start to build that out so that it is there once something goes forward for a measure going forward. Communications moving forward as the LAFCO process continues. EMS fire suppression communication campaign, utilize recent training videos from Diamond Springs and County Fire to start to promote that as far as what is being done for suppression activities and prevention. Statistics, website had 48,700 page visits. Email subscribers are up to about 313, a 6.5% increase. Facebook page, 16,500 visits. Followers are at almost 18,000, got 441 new followers. Page reach is almost 300,000 people is where it's going out. Instagram, 1,800 visits, reach is 11,700, I'm just kind of on the. Interactions on our most post, no, I'm sorry, Facebook post, it had a page reach of almost, 550,000 reaches. Reactions, almost 3,000, a lot of comments, a lot of shares. So that's the statistics. Recap. So there was a brought up relative to compliance for the website, and looking at the website going under compliance, there's some, the concern was brought up that our compliance page is not necessarily reflecting what it should. And so there needs to be a look to say, for the various items that are on the compliance page, and I had it up, is, right, so if we come down, it'll say, services and functions, and if you go to the services and functions, you'll see a picture, and you'll see it says services and functions governance. Is that appropriate? Maybe, I don't know. But then, it says bids and proposals, but, and then it says we have a safe surrender. But I think we should be able to put into there, this is just an example, hey, we will, the suppression or prevention bureau, what does it do? That's a service, right? And just be able to list that out. Swiftwater Rescue is a service. High rope angle. HRT, be able to build that out. So the suggestion was is to have staff look at the compliance area and see where information is lacking, or it could be beefed up, and then have that assigned to appropriate staff to maintain on a regular interval to look at it, so that that compliance aspect stays in place. Did I miss anything there? I'm just, so, and I think, we've agreed, our next meeting is gonna be out at Station 72. I think, two of our members of the committee would like that, it's not as much of a drive. So that's end of report. Any questions?
Item C, JPA. I don't know, was there a JPA? Oh, there was, I missed that one. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so that was, it was a good meeting. I think that's where we got some really good insight and news on our, admin fee, adjustments, which is really good for our district. I think one of the other pieces that I think, gets highlighted there is that the value of having board members, and I'm not just talking about our board members, I'm talking about board members from the other agencies too, at the JPA meeting, in the behind the scenes discussions that occur, I think are really important. I want to thank 3556 for having their representatives there. I think that's been an important piece going forward is to have their input there also. One of the things that I think that stood out to me is, we've been focused on 2x2s with the board of supervisors and 2x2s with CSDs and those kind of things, right? But it seems like we maybe ought to start doing some 2x2s with the overhead fire on a more regular basis between our board members, I think. It seems like there is some good opportunity for dialogue there, especially as it concerns JPA, so I think it's, that may be something else we need to put on our radar screen, is it's not just the city council and the board of supervisors and whoever, but it's also our neighboring fire districts too. I think we need to keep that open line of communication with them too. It seems like it's a gap we have right now.
I met Chief Padero, and I met sometimes with Chief Johnson. But I think that's really important, but the contract is, they went over the final contract, right? There's no open issues. One is they're gonna add another ambulance, right? They're gonna say,
The proposed contract has funding for everyone.
And then there's a cap on the budget, so we're gonna get that admin fee out of our.
Yeah, the proposal, it's in county council right now, it has funding for a ninth unit, and then a recalculation on the admin rates to, 10% of actuals with a cap of up to 1.1 million per unit. The actual cap to operate the unit is 1.3. The original discussions were that 10% would be on your class 30 only, not including, other compensation, overtime, which was a biggie, and a couple other things. And through our negotiations and conversations, we got them to go to the 10% on, that includes additional overtime, those type of things, but it's capped at 1.1, so we'll probably be up against those, on our units. Eventually 110,000 per unit, which that's a long ways from the 20 grand per unit that we were getting like literally 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So, which was woefully under.
Oh, totally.
Compensated for the amount of work that we do. Yeah.
Plus the contract, they want a long-term contract, right?
Yeah, they really shifted to a longer term contract, and, I know that, there's always been kind of that conversation piece about, privates and those type of things, and they were actually looking at, going out to RFP a few years ago, and the county contracted with, Endpoint to do a consultant to do an analysis of the system, and that they actually never finished that report. So, I think there's been a little shift at the county recognizing that privatizing our system, would not be a service to the community. I mean, a private ambulance company in here would probably operate 4 or 5 units during the day along the Highway 50 corridor, and probably 2 units at night. So, that'd be a tremendous drop off. So they really shifted away from that, and I think it feels like they're looking at just solidifying a long-term contract with the JPA. The one piece, on that JPA is that it'd be with the JPA, but there's no defined JPA structure. I'll say, so if there were changes to the membership or the model of what the JPA looks like, that's really a JPA issue, not tied to this contract. So we'll see. It's coming back from county council. We're trying to schedule our individual contract meeting with the providers and the JPA, because you have the contract between the county and the JPA, and then there's the individual agency contracts. That is the piece that comes back to this board for approval every year.
So I think that's well, obviously we'll have a discussion more in depth when that happens, but 2 pieces. One is, I think the discussion about the county making the decision to go to RFP has a lot of legal pieces around it because of the measures that establish what the ambulance service is. So it's not. I remember I had that discussion a few years ago with the CAO, and it's not as simple as just the county deciding, oh, we want to go to RFP. They can't do that without going to vote of people, basically. So that's going to be an interesting. That would be an interesting discussion.
I don't know what they're proposing. That conversation's off the table.
Yeah, good.
They're not going
Yes.
that way at all.
It's a long-term contract that we propose.
And then that's the other piece, I think the significant discussion is gonna be the term of the contract. And how long is that gonna be, and we'll wait and see what they,
And also,
What they
you gotta escalate the prices.
and what happens, and then I think the other question, significant question is, what happens if one of the participating agencies board says no? What's the ramifications, what's the process if one of the 3 transporting boards say no?
And they don't have, in simplest terms, if our board said no to the contract between us and GPA, then we don't have a contract operating ambulance. And JPA, they would do something.
They have to find some other option.
It's, the cap, if an agency is efficient and effective, does that money still go back to fund those that go over?
So there is currently a provision that would allow for an agency that goes over the cap under a certain flow chart of if there is residual monies available to JPA to request that. At our last meeting, because it covers, if there's residual, the first thing it covers is unused sick leave to the agencies. So we submit to them, hey, on our JPA people, we have X dollar amount of unused sick leave. That goes into a reserve account at the JPA, they retain that funding. The second thing, if there's still money left, they address the admin fees and request for additional admin fee, and then the third item will be overages. At the JPA meeting that Director Oden was at, they approved additional $88,558 per unit, I believe was the dollar amount. So for us, we just submit our invoice, it's another 472,000 and some change. But that basically negated the residual from last year. So the third option that could be used with JPA overage or unspent money is, there's really nothing there.
That's gonna affect one transporting everything.
Yeah.
And there's not,
Yeah.
from, I'll speak only from this representative on that board, there's not an appetite to augment overages at this point. As far as I'm concerned.
Anything else? I think the JP is moving, I think it's moving in the right direction. I think it's great.
And the new contract has a CPI built into it?
The proposed contract with between the JP and the county does have some pretty significant increases in it as far as funding levels.
I'm thinking, so for the California Price Index, is published is, so it costs $1.10 this year, next year, pick a thing, costs about 25. Is that type of an escalate built into it?
No, we went with a flat rate. Well, there were some jumps for some line item specific things and then a flat escalator. Previous contracts, there's a ambulance inflation factor. And that has been all, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's flat, sometimes. So with the previous contract we negotiated with county, we had 7% a year, just a flat.
Okay.
Which then for the GPA, you know what it's gonna be. It actually works out in favor.
So it is flat, okay, so we know and we can plot it, good, okay.
Okay, how about the ad hoc committees, facilities and equipment? Human resources? You got it.
Ours was in closed session.
Right, the DSP ECF annexation working group, I mean.
We canceled our last meeting, just kind of focused on the MOU piece that was getting buttoned up, and I had spoken with Chief Galvin, we didn't really. We're kind of like, we can have a meeting to have a meeting, but there's not really anything there, so hopefully we'll, with these changes, we'll get back and get going.
All right, item 11, correspondence and communications.
We did have a couple of correspondence, one, I had a request from Marshall Oswego this year for a letter of support, they're trying to telemedicine project. Georgetown going to provide them better again this year, they tried that last year, were unsuccessful in getting the grant funding. And then, with the changes at the federal level, it was disheartening to see that the National Fire Academy got closed. And like a week later, they closed the Resource Learning Center, which is a library that's on the National Fire Academy campus, and it's the largest fire department research facility, I think, in the US, if not the world. So it was good grief. So I received an email from IFC, with they filled this out and sent it in. So that went to Senator Padilla, Senator Schiff, and Representative Kiley, requesting that they reopen the National Fire Academy. So those are the correspondence that we received. And then for your engine and medic stats, those are in your packet. They're continuing to be busy with everything. The numbers were down a little bit, but remember February is a shorter month, so calls per day, that adds up quickly, full 2 or 3 months, days off a month, so. But all those are in there. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on. Item 12, fire chief's report.
Just a couple of things. I'll start out with Captain Raffini and give you an update on him. He had what they call RECELL therapy, which in lieu of a skin graft. And when we went in for surgery, they weren't, when he went in, he didn't know, it was like 50-50 if they're gonna be able to do this RECELL therapy or a skin graft. He was able to do the RECELL, which is where a much smaller patch of him is sprayed for skin cells. They do this thing where they get it into a solution and, this crazy mojo stuff, and then it gets into a form where they spray it on his hands. And then there's a protective covering that goes over to grow his skin. He's referred to himself as he's now Chia Pet and growing skin. So I actually talked to him last night for a while. He's at home and he said, well, let me send you a picture of my hand, and unbelievable.
Oh, really?
And then he sent me a picture from like a week ago, before this occurred, and yeah, it's his hand, he sent me one of them, and it's, it's injured, but it looks 1,000% better than what it was.
That's
So-
skin color, actually. Skin color.
Yeah, it's, there's still a couple of spots that were like not, but it looks like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
So phenomenal. So that was, he had the surgery on Monday, and they're originally saying like, 7 to 14 days of continued stay in the burn unit. Wednesday, they let him go home. I was actually prepping to go down there. I was like, and get released. Great news. And then, of course, transition to Friday when we down with Captain Shepherd, Chief Shepherd. And I think everybody kind of has some of the details, but really just kind of to summarize what we know. Chief Shepherd and his family, along with another family, Sacramento captain, they were on Kauai vacationing. They'd gone to the beach to go snorkeling. Chief Shepherd and the other captain and that captain's 13-year-old son, they were out snorkeling. The captain said, we were like maybe 30 yards or so out, not way out, and water was calm, no big deal. They were over on a reef, and a couple of rollers came through, kind of tumbling around a bit, and water got kind of murky, so they went back into shore. When they got to shore, Jeff wasn't there, so they kind of started looking around and trying to figure out what was going on. Located one of the fins, one of the slippers, so they had to hike out like 10, 15 minutes to get cell coverage to fall. They located him fairly quickly through Kauai Fire and Rescue, but unfortunately it was too late. So we're still working through kind of some of the dates and details on things. I know that I reached out to the board for the procession piece to see if there was interest in participating in that. Chief Gallagher did with his board as well. We still don't know exactly when that piece is going to take place. They did perform the autopsy yesterday, but then once that's done, there's like a 72-hour window. And then the family has chosen cremation, but we don't know, that 72-hour window closes over the weekend. Do they do it on the weekends? Or is it a week from Thursday? We really don't know that piece. So our honor guard is spooled up. We've been in contact with Kauai Fire Department. I've spoken to their chief a handful of times now. They're fully set and ready for us. When we get over there, they've just been absolutely phenomenal. So we will be sending 2 honor guard members to the local, Captain Duncan and Engineer Land. They will accompany Shep back. We did find out yesterday from the family that his wife Tanya and her brother, who's Travis Lane, he's the battalion chief of the U.S. Forest Service. They want to go as well to bring Shep back. So with that change, I will also be going to the family and providing a support service for them. But really the Kauai, their chief and their guard is, hey, just keep us posted, we'll take everything you guys get here, so they've been absolutely phenomenal. So tentatively right now, the family is looking at for services like April 10, 11, 12, that kind of window, but that's still a very fluid date, as we don't know exactly when we'll be home and take care of that piece. We have, Cal Fire AU local, they have offered up their IMT, Incident Management Team, to really take that lift from us on just all of the logistics. We have daily meetings, which just kind of updates as we're getting everything down there. The questions and things that are being posted, you don't even think about. But they unfortunately have done this countless times, and so they're just kind of a machine on what needs to happen. So resources they have just. So they're working hand in hand with us on getting that done. There is a plan in place that's being developed on for the procession and the day of the service to make sure that all of county fire stations are backstaffed, so all of our personnel can attend. And that will include medical staff, as long as they get more people. But the plan is to have all of our companies present, including medic units, for the service. So, and then, as we were kind of rolling through that piece, Monday we found out that, firefighter Gansler, who he worked for us from, 2015 to 2019, kind of an interesting, great guy, one of those guys that just was phenomenal. I mean, yeah, great guy, worked here, went to Fremont Fire, which was kind of a shock to us, like, man, Gans is going to Fremont. He was still on probation down there. I honestly don't recall how long he'd been there, might have been a handful of months or farther in his probation. But we received notification that, he was on fire, literally like taking a hose line from the engine to the front door and coated in the front yard. Now, luckily, everybody was there. They worked him up, got him back. He went through all of his, cardiac rehab things, went back to work, and we were kind of talking internally at that time, like, maybe it's a blessing he went to Fremont, a larger department and whatnot. Not that, their medics are better than our medics, but just the reality of it, if he'd been on, engine 17, he could have gone out, coded in the front yard, the next engine's 10 minutes out. I mean, it could have ended much differently, based on our staffing model. So we're, sometimes things happen for a reason, But we received notification on Monday that he was at home with his family and playing with his kids, and it sounds like another cardiac event, and they were unable to resuscitate him. We did have members that were down there from the Consumers Fire that also were previous county fire employees, so that they've been involved in that piece, and his service is coming up next week. So with all of these things, the regional peer support, the chaplaincy that Director Oden's part of, our peer support guys, have just been just amazing for our personnel. I was talked to some of our peer support, outside peer support partners, just with concern of our internal peer support people, because, they were dealing with the routine event with all of our members. And then like, okay, well, who's taking care of them? Because they've been taxed beyond where they deserve to be taxed to. So, but, again, that regional team, Elrod Hills, peer support, we've done 3 sessions. We captured, C shift on Saturday, the day after we kind of learned the passing of Shep. And then, Monday, we provided that to the Alpha staff. And then Tuesday morning, we captured A shift coming off duty and B shift coming on duty, using the fireman's hall, and very well attended, with fire personnel, outside fire personnel. We had somebody from the county building department that showed up. The fire marshal for Yochi Gate Fire Department, and just, as the tentacles get out, people wanted to be part of that. So that's kind of the piece on that, and I'll get back into some business stuff. I think I've briefed you on the hydrant program that we're doing in the city of Placerville. That's gonna be a little bit delayed, just kind of with the Prevention Bureau change. We do have the wildfire preparedness event that's taking place at Midtown Mall on April 26th, we'll be involved with that. And then, myself, Engine Medic 25, we attended, the city had a pre-Pi Day event, which was right here, and it was, the department heads brought in a bunch of pie and ice cream and stuff, and then, for all the city employees, including Engine Medic 25, it's kind of an employee appreciation type thing. On the JPA, we talked about the contract, for the district, and, February is pretty busy, we have a lot of training things that are going on, we have fire control 3 class, live fire drills for all the folks, auto extrication, we had our 8-month probationary firefighter evaluations. And then there's some ongoing training with the new truck 28 that's in service at Station 28. Some of the captains are busy putting together what we refer to as hot wheels. And basically they're focusing right now on ground ladders, just with the ladder complement that's on the truck, and a lot of them aren't everyday ladders that the crews use, so just kind of refresher training, getting some of those things done. We're still waiting for a delivery date on our SCBA's. I'm anxious to get, because once we get notification that they're being shipped, we can reach out to AFG and withdraw the money. And I want to make that happen before something changes at the federal level where that money goes away, so. And AFG is pretty strict about it. They won't allow you to make an early draw on that money because they don't want you making interest on the money. So once we find out they're being shipped, we'll do that draw. We should have it in like 48 hours, pay the vendor and away there. So hopefully that's coming up quick. Yesterday, Station 28 and Engine 49, we had a Take Your Kid to School event. So that was an event that was raffled off at the Marshall Foundation, their 50th gala. That's one I reported to you where we were doing 2 of them. They each went for like $2,200. That money that the foundation raised was going for the ambulance cover at Marshall. So the family lived down off of Motherlode, so went down, picked up the child and mom, took him to Camp Park Montessori, which is actually on Motherlode and Shingle. It's Camp Park Montessori. We had, like I said, Engine 28, Engine 49, Truck 28, Medic 228 with 2 off-duty PAOs that came in and staff that, just have a medic unit there for the crews, myself, Chief Dutch, and Captain Duncan. Great. It was super cool. Like this role kids, they had a kick out of everything. And it was a little kind of therapy session for the crews to get out. You know, something a little bit different, but it was good. We had Truck 28, the Truck 28 Red Hawk event scheduled for April 12th. That kind of open house show, showing total truck there. I reached out to Tyler Vila at Red Hawk and let them know kind of what's going on, and that being potentially a conflict date with Chevy Services, because we schedule that probably sometime in May. We have submitted our request to the county for a tourism related call reimbursement. This year is about $92,000 that we requested. The county and their finances are not favorable right now, so I'll leave more soups on April 8th when they're further discussing TOT funding to advocate that we retain that. We've completed the captain's meetings for all the ships except for B ship. We had those slated, and of course at 8:30 that morning it was they popped a work instruction from Pollock and I was into that. So and then tonight we have a pub ed event. I'll be out on Auburn Lake Trails for their Fire State Council event along with Captain Duncan, and then Chief Gallagher has another event at the Lions in Diamond Springs. It's an annual event that they do every year, and they'll be recognizing 2 firefighters, Captain Lemos and Engineer Ballers from Diamond Springs. So we're kind of splitting duty tonight. I'll be out cool, and he gets to go to Diamond Springs. So you don't want to trade with me, so you want to we'll make it work. So with that, you know, I'll continue to keep you posted on these dates and details that are still being worked out. But the support from everybody has been overwhelming. You know, our local was heavily involved, and really, it's a team effort, but we'll do what we'll sweat. And a report.
All right. Item 13, board comments. You can start with that.
You go first.
Well, I think just a quick follow-up on what the chief here. I think one of the really important pieces is our own peer support guys getting the help, and I think for me, it's been an honor to be a part of the chaplaincy and the peer support, because we started a year ago building the regional peer support in Elrod County. And of course, never envisioning something like this, but the reason for it being built was that no agency in our county can handle a apex event by itself, you know, and so a handful of people, peer support folks, of which Captain Raffini is a major player. Captain Raffini is actually a major player in getting this done. And so this regional peer support is the peer support leads from every agency that has a peer support team in El Dorado County. So that includes fire departments, law enforcement agencies, all of them. And then along with that, the CR chaplaincy is a component of that peer support piece too. So fortunately, that process has been going on for a while. So, and we've actually been able to, on very small scale things, we've been able to exercise that team a little bit. And when this happened, the amazing part was, it was just a call from our peer support team to that team, and they stepped in. They stepped in completely to support our agency, and it's been phenomenal to watch. But the other piece is that, and I think you know this, Chief, but that team is following up with our peer support members, because who supports the peer support guys, right? That's the question he asked, and that's the cool part, is that there's people that are just behind the scenes, quietly following up with our folks on a regular basis, making sure that they're getting support that they need, because the support they need to provide doesn't go away because they're closely tied to it, you know? You can try to remove yourself as much as you can, but the reality is everybody knows who you are and knows what your skill sets are, and they're still gonna reach out to you, so. I think it's just to me, it's just an amazing resource that didn't exist when I started my career. You know, didn't exist when you started yours. It's amazing that it exists. So anyway, changing directions now, 2 weeks ago, a week was Saturday, it was last Saturday. The captain that I worked for in Sacramento, that was my very first captain, passed away, and so I went to his service Saturday, and when I went to the reception, I sat with a director, in fact, she's actually the chair of Sacramento Metro Fire Board. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but they ran a measure this last election cycle that was a funding augmentation measure called Measure O. And it passed overwhelming. I mean, like in the 70 percentile range it passed. And so I was just asking her a little bit about that and how they did it and what they did. Anyway, she gave me a name of the person within their district that shepherded that project. And then he has all of the consultant contacts and all the process they went through to do it, and all the pre-work they did to make sure that they had the best chance of success when the thing came up. So I have just preliminarily talked to him, but you know, I don't know who maybe you and Mickey are the right people or you and Nikki are the right people to eventually hook up with him, but, he is gonna be a huge wealth of knowledge and asset to us if we move forward on this. And what he told me just preliminarily is, he said, your absolutely best chance of passing it is in a general election. Don't try to run a special election. He said, you're asking for trouble if you do that. So he said, that was just one thing he said, was right off the bat, don't try to do this on standalone, do it as part of the general election. So, so anyway, I will pass his information on to whichever one of you or both of you that you want.
Yeah.
And,
How much did they, was it a parcel tax?
it was a parcel, yeah.
How much did they pay away?
It was, I believe, I want to say they took out a bond and then it was a certain dollar amount per $100 value.
I think that's the way it
Assessed
works.
value of the property.
Yeah, I think that's the way it works.
So, yeah. So it was a slide, it wasn't a flat.
Yeah, it's not, it's a
flat
sliding
rate, it
scale.
was a sliding scale.
Yeah.
And I think it was $100,000 value.
I think if I remember right, the way it kind of works out on average is for residential properties, it works out to like $30-something, $38, $39, and on average, it just depends on the valuation though, because it is sliding. And then on commercial, I think it's more like in the $80 to $90 per parcel on average. But it all depends on the value, so. And I don't know a lot of details about it, but he can tell you all about that.
Okay,
What they did, and actually, they did go through a process of what do we do, right? What do we do? Do we do just a flat fee? Do we do this sliding scale? Do we do, some other option? And like I said, they hired this consulting firm. And they did a ton of work with the surveys of the community before they ever even launched anything. And they had a pretty good idea of what was gonna be successful and what wasn't prior to even putting it out there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
anyway, he's more than willing to talk to us and just share with us what they did and how they made it.
Right.
Just
You got one to talk to.
another option now. So that's it.
Just one here, I was invited, because I'm a director and it was today, was Leadership for Tomorrow. It's sponsored by Rotary. Keynote speaker was Sheriff Wyckoff. And the way the program works, they're having one up here with, Union Mine and El Dorado. And they invite leaders in the community. And what I saw Lilienthal was there. A lot of the sheriff's department was there. Business leaders who have been successful in meeting with the top X amount of students from each school. There were, I think we had 8 breakout rooms is what it was. And there were like 15 leaders, mentors, they called us, and then students. And it would go student, mentor, student, mentor, student, mentor, all the way around. And there was a facilitator that talked through and said, you know, it was interesting, they put on the board and said, business, student. And it's like, student, what are your challenges? What do you run into when, ethical challenges with your projects, your team projects? And they would put stuff up, and then business leaders, what were the ethical problems you were having? And it was uncanny. While it's the youngsters and the, I'll just say oldsters, I hope not, anything, but is how common the situations were, and that's, and there was recognition, well, some of the stuff that happens in high school cliques and so forth, there's that same problem in business, and you try to manage that, and how do you overcome it? So it's actually really good, and I would say, Dan Dreyer, the owner of Wally's Pizza Bar, is the gentleman that's sponsoring this. And if any of you guys are interested, Chief, I think some of you and some of your staff, You guys interested? I think it's a great experience, and it was eye-opening in that youth and older guys and gals kind of have the same situation that you have in second grade, but it's a little bit different. And so, I'll send you, I'll send a note to you, chief, and so if you want to reach out, I'll contact Dan. It was well worth it. I had to leave early to come here. It ends at 3:30. I think it's about when I was in, but it's, and they'll provide you breakfast, coffee and all of that. It's just a great time to interact with the community.
Awesome.
Yeah, well,
Anybody else? Okay. Future agenda items, next board meeting is April 17th.
We will have, we're, for the next board meeting, we received a LAFCO packet for the, voting applications, so, and do it, so. We're going by those, we have no May 15th, 3 minutes, so next one.
I will be there first. I'll give you the address.
Okay,
do we need, for anything we have to do for breaking, does that be a future agenda, or would we just do a special meeting if we had?
Probably we will have something on the agenda, we may end up with a special meeting, we'll see how that plays out.
okay. Motion for adjournment,
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.